Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yasodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Yasodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Yasodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Munatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Munatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari That was lovely. Thank you for participating so nicely. So before we read the Bhagavad Gita, there's an invocation, and that is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we pay our obeisances to Lord Vasudev, and we worship Vasudev because Vasudev is for helping us elevate our consciousness. Sometimes we think knowledge is enough in life, but actually there's a difference between our consciousness, and our level of consciousness often determines how we experience happiness and distress, or how we experience joy and love and bliss, which we're all really looking for. So please repeat after me, and I'll say it 3 times. And the children can say it as loud as you can, okay? Respectfully, but as loud as you can. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, and we're going to be looking at verse 8. Okay. Right. For a moment, do you ever have that where You think I've forgotten? I thought I knew, but I've forgotten. So I thought I knew the verse, but anyway, I've got it now. Now this verse is chapter 5, verse 18. And Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna, a humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. So I'll say the Sanskrit, and then I'll go into the text and the purport. So I just want you to ponder on that as I do. And if you can join in the Sanskrit, please do. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Brahmane Gavi Hastini, Sunicheva Swapake Cha, Sunicheva Swapake Cha, Pandita Samaha Darshinaha. So please repeat after me. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater. I wonder what that is. It's an outcast. So we'll go into that more. So Srila Prabhupada is telling us that a Krishna-conscious person does not make any distinction between species and castes. The Brahmana and the outcasts may be different from a social point of view, or a dog or a cow or an elephant may be different from a point of view of species, but these differences in body are meaningless for the viewpoint of a learned transcendentalist. This is due to their relationship with the Supreme, for the Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion as Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Such an understanding of the Supreme is real knowledge as far as the bodies are concerned. In different castes or different species of life, the Lord is equally kind to everyone because he treats everything, every living being as a friend, yet maintains himself as Paramatma. Regardless of the circumstances, although the body of a Brahmana and that of an outcast is not the same, the bodies are material productions of different modes of material nature, but the soul and the supersoul within the body are the same spiritual quality. The similarity of the quality of the soul and the supersoul, however, does not make them equal in quantity, for the individual soul is present only in a particular body, whereas the Paramatma is present in each and every body. A Krishna-conscious person is full of knowledge for this, and therefore he is truly learned and has equal vision. The similar characteristics of the soul and supersoul are that they are both conscious, eternal, and blissful. But the difference is that the individual soul is conscious within the limited jurisdiction of the body, whereas the supersoul is conscious of all bodies. The supersoul is present in all bodies without distinction. Now, did everyone get that? Anyone got any questions about that? So, may I have your permission to break it down then, what Bhagavad Gita is saying? So Lord Krishna is saying that sometimes the difficulty we have in life is we judge people by how they are or how they look. So he's comparing a humble sage, somebody who in the Vedic system may be considered quite, very respected because they have knowledge. And sometimes we'll say, well, we'll worship, or we'll be very respectful to somebody who has more knowledge than us. However, he says that somebody who is humble will see with equal vision a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, or a dog-eater. Now, the word dog-eater probably isn't used. It's probably kind of end of sort of Victorian, Edwardian language, where when we think about dog-eater, It means that there are people who might eat dogs, or just people who will live a life that maybe we wouldn't necessarily think, we wouldn't want our children to bring up our children in that way. So how does it work out for children at school? Do children experience challenges? I know that when my children came home from school, it was like, oh, so-and-so hit me today, or somebody stole my lunch, or somebody called me names. And so here we are as parents, we have this very challenge that right from the onset of childhood, we want our children to experience kindness and love, and to accept all children, whether they are academic, whether they're artistic, whether they have special needs. We want society, even ourselves, to be able to accept our children for the way they are, let alone accepting adults and people in life. So this is, Srila Prabhupada is telling us here that what we've really got to see, which we can't see, which is kind of invisible, is the Paramatma. They say the body is a short-term, we've got this body as a vehicle, but what's eternal within us is our soul, that eternal loveliness within us that never dies, can never be killed, can never be broken. And sometimes, we experience so much grief and anxiety when we think we're going to lose someone or we've lost someone. Of course, we've lost their association in this life and in the body that we know them. But what we're understanding is not that we shouldn't lament, but to actually recognize there's something eternally lovely about everyone. And so the soul, whether you are an animal, a human being, whether you've got money, whether you've got wealth, whether you've got beauty, whether you're in different species, the soul is the same. It's transmigrating due to, in different bodies due to one's karma. Sometimes we're in life, people say, well, we've got to be politically correct, that everyone is equal. And spiritually, that's correct, everyone is equal. But we can see that we're not all equal because our bodies are different, our species are different. It doesn't mean that we're any less, but it's actually recognizing the individuality and respecting it. I can carry on, but does anyone have a question about that? So let me break it down a bit more. I think being a teacher myself and having a background in academics, we often put so much emphasis on learning, academic learning. But sometimes and moral learning, we put our emphasis on moral learning as well. I'm sure we do, because we want to bring up our children in a way that they know between right and wrong, but they can function well in society as adults. However, here we're getting spiritual knowledge that really equality of opportunity, whether it's a human being, an animal, whoever they are, that equality has to be seen through the spiritual eyes, that there is something beautiful, eternal, spiritual, good about each and every person. So then why is it so difficult? Because we all understand that. We can understand that within our minds, that everyone is equal, everyone is a spirit soul. So why do we have so much challenges? So my question is to all of you. Why do you think it's challenging?
Because we see the body, we see the appearance, see the soul.
Yeah, so when we see, so you're saying, thank you for that, you're seeing the body and you're seeing their appearance, and so therefore, are you saying we make a judgment?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's our internal judgments and prejudice. So Socrates said, wisdom and knowledge comes about by accepting and rejecting. So, okay, we can understand that premise, but why is it that we judge? Yeah, we haven't, but so can I ask honestly, you know, what do we have challenges with? Sorry, who is that? Our ego, yeah. So what is your ego, what has your ego got to do with prejudice and judgment? Yes, sir, absolutely, because it starts off with the verse starts off with the humble sage. You know, the ego and judgment, as you're saying, comes with always thinking, where do I fit in this world? Or I'm not as bad as that person. Or, I want to look up to that person. I want to be better than them. So we forget to be in the present moment where we can acknowledge our own gifts and talents and train ourselves with humility to see something good about others. So that comes, how long is a piece of string? And that's the challenge, because we don't know. When we're engaging with people whose consciousness may not be humble, or it may not appear appropriate to be humble, because, you get walked over, I've got to stand my ground, I've got to get my respect. So these are the challenges that happen. So there's also something else that Lord Krishna says, fear. We fear things that we don't understand. So here in the Bhagavad Gita, this is one spiritual understanding and knowledge that it's giving us, is that it's okay, we don't have to fear other people that you don't understand. They may not be in your tribe, or they may not be in your circle of friends. When I first came to Britain many years ago, probably 68, we used to have signs in Birmingham on the doors and windows saying, no Irish, no blacks, and no dogs. And I always used to wonder, why is this sign on a window that says no Irish, no blacks, and no dogs? And it always baffled me. But during that time when there was migration coming into Britain, there was a great fear that the migrants that would come in would take away jobs of the indigenous people. So then there was fear and judgment. There was fear and judgment against the Irish, and of course dogs. So that's a classic example of maybe how people thought, you're worthy. I rent my home to you, but not you. So that causes us, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of distress and anxiety within our own lives if we find ourselves judging. Now, you won't believe this, but we're judging all the time. And I suppose the question we have to ask ourselves is, when I judge, do I get into conflict? Do you find you get into conflict when you judge? So what happens when you... thank you for your participation. So what happens and your honesty, what happens when you judge that brings about conflict?
Well, whoever I judge, they,
Difference of opinion? Absolutely. It starts with, yes, difference of opinion. Yeah, that's a really good... How many have differences of opinion? Everyone, even at home, with your partner, with your children, maybe at work. But the filters are a bit more stronger at work, at home maybe, we might think, well, we're constantly judging. And of course, what happens to when you judge somebody? It diminishes them and their joy, but it actually diminishes us as well. So, hands up if you think that it's, because here it says a humble sage with true knowledge sees with equal vision a learned brahmana, a cow, an elephant, dog, and a dog eater. How many people think they can see with equal vision everyone? No? Yeah. Yeah. And actually, when we find it difficult, then even if we don't say it in our words, we'll be thinking thoughts that may be incongruent with our soul. It'll make us feel uncomfortable. Would anyone like to add anything to that?
I was just wondering if, like you said, we are equal only.
Excuse me, can you sit here, please?
You
Yes.
said we are equal only on the level of on the level of the soul. We are equal. On the level of the body, we are not equal. So, is it not natural then to make judgment because we're not the same on the level of body?
So for those online, this wonderful devotee is saying that we are equal on a spiritual basis, but on a bodily basis we're not. So it's natural to judge. Well, give me an example of why it's natural to judge.
Well, if someone, for example, they don't, let's say someone has more knowledge, someone doesn't have more knowledge, so then, the one who has knowledge, okay, he has, if the person without knowledge makes some comments, he will just say, look, you don't know. You don't know, you're a fool, for example. You don't know. I know better than you.
So yeah, absolutely. There will be inequalities, or we're all different, so we're not all going to understand everything the same way. But here it says the humble sage with virtue of knowledge sees everyone with equal vision. It also means with respect. So, of course, you're saying, there's a challenge when somebody knows more or somebody, so there's a tendency to look down on someone, or if you're not meeting up to a certain standard, then the chances of opportunity are less for you. Of course that is. But also we're bringing with us karma. So here Srila Prabhupada says that we're also bringing with us another factor which we don't have control over, which is our own karma. So, yes, I think people do judge, and I think it is difficult, and I think we experience a lot of pain and suffering. However, I think it's really important. Thank you for shutting that door, because it's really difficult to concentrate. Thank you. I think please, thank you. Thank you. So, where is this going, really? I think in terms of this verse, it's kind of a lesson for us that we know there's inequality, we know there's judgment, we know there's difference. But here, the Bhagavad Gita is saying that when we establish our mind in sameness and equanimity, then we conquer. It's the beginning of conquering birth and death. So when we're not seeing everybody with equal vision, the spiritual vision, seeing them with the love and the respect and the honor that they deserve, then what happens is conflict arises, conflict within us, maybe conflict within them. And even if it's not verbal or even non-verbal, we're thinking it. So then it takes away our joy. So what happens until you see others with equal vision? What's happening to our consciousness? Anybody know?
You mean before we get to that level to see everything
Yeah.
equally?
Yeah, before we get to the level of seeing equally, because here Bhagavad Gita is saying that a humble sage sees with the equal vision.
So what do you mean when you say what happens to our consciousness?
So what is happening to us in terms of our consciousness when we're not seeing everybody with equal vision? There's a conflict. What else? Yeah, we can go the wrong way. And sometimes it's not a negative judgment. Sometimes it's because we meet somebody and we think, I'm going to fall in love with that person because I've got this image of what I think that person is and how they should be and how they should behave. But actually, what happens is the reality is that our experience and therefore our judgments start to bring conflict. So what is it about a humble sage? What is it? How do you get to becoming a humble sage in this world to be able to do that? Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. You focus your mind on Krishna. How do you do that? You chant his names. What else? Yes, a humble sage would chant his names, do seva. What else would they do? Spread his word. What else? Everything we do should be an offering to him. What else? Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Gaur Nitai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Come closer, my love, because we can really have a good conversation. What were you saying?
So I was saying that a humble sage could also
Speak with a big voice.
so a humble sage could also look at every living being as an expansion of Krishna's energy.
Yes, a humble sage will see every living being as an expansion of Krishna's energy. That's amazing. That's amazing. So it comes back, Srila Prabhupada says, a Krishna conscious person. Krishna conscious means that I then begin to see the Lord pervading in everything. So they say, well, how do you see Krishna in everything? So that's my question to all of you. How would you see Krishna in everything?
I think it's difficult most of the times because the person is behaving really badly, so you can't really see Krishna.
Yes. Yes. Now, if it's really hard and somebody's behaving really badly and it's like, how can how can this person, Krishna, be in this person? What's the one thing you can all do? Please come and sit here because I want to see you all as well, but my neck doesn't turn as much. Please. You're all doing so well. Thank you. So how do you do? Go on. Okay, but like this lady said, what if it's really, really tough? How do you do that? Please shut the door.
Even if you don't say anything to the person, but the conflict stays with you,
Yes.
everything then goes inside you,
Okay.
and then you upset yourself.
So how do you not upset yourself? How do you not let it eat you up?
Meditate.
Medicate.
Meditate.
Oh,
Yes, and that as well. And meditate.
yeah. Meditate. But what if you're meditating and it's like, it's there, you know?
You're meditating on that.
Yeah, you're meditating on that, so you're not meditating positively. Anyone got an idea? One thing that you can do when you're in a difficult situation where you can't see how can Krishna be in your heart?
I think sometimes you have to open the Gita and like randomly, and then something will pop out. And it makes sense.
Yeah, this young man said, link it to Krishna, so read the Bhagavad Gita. So one of the interesting things, I have a friend who's a Christian, what I hear devotees say is that when you're in turmoil, pick up the Bhagavad Gita and don't do it like, okay, I'm going to read it, I'm going to learn, I'm going to get this knowledge. But rather you pick the Bhagavad Gita and say, please, Lord Krishna, reveal to me what I need to understand in this situation. And because the Bhagavad Gita is like a living text, there's something quite extraordinary. The verse that you need to know will come to you. But here, one of the things we can do when it's very, very difficult for us is actually to see one good thing in that person. What's the one good thing that you can see about them? Now, it's really difficult if somebody winds you up all the time, right? You think that, I just wish this person didn't exist. But the way that the humble sage goes forward is they don't take anything personally. So that's one thing, try not to take it personal. When people are unhappy and they do unkind things, it's actually because they are deeply unhappy within themselves. So try not to take things too personal. Thank you for shutting the door, sir. So try not to take it too personal. Open the Bhagavad Gita and try and see one good thing about them. Now, in the Bhagavatam, it says that when somebody upsets us or somebody treats us badly, we can get into the cycle of victim and perpetrator. I'm the victim, they're the perpetrator. But there's another deeply knowledgeable understanding, and that is, Krishna, I don't know why this person is in my life. They're clearly executing some kind of karma on me. Please help me to somehow or another not retaliate, because when you retaliate, you're creating more karma. So you want to be able to detach. So you want to be able to pray that I do my duty, I do whatever I have to do, but if there's a challenge, then sorry, I've lost my trail of thought. But did you understand that? Can you repeat it to me so I know that you've...
I think you need to get out of that cycle. Stop taking things personally.
Yes, stop.
Get your ego out of the way that you are something big, and then you're thinking, how dare she did, or he did that to me. And then just take your ego away, detach yourself,
Yeah.
and surrender yourself. Read Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. And, one of the things some people do is they say, I'm so sorry, Krishna, this thing is showing up in my life. I may have done it to somebody else. Please forgive me. I love them. I let them go. And you kind of pray in that way, so you're not getting entangled. They did this to me. I want to do that to them. And then it becomes complex, So that's one quality a humble sage can have with equal vision. What else? So you said read the Bhagavad Gita. Try and see Krishna in everything. So how would you do that? How do you see Krishna in everything?
If you were to have a sheet of paper, for instance,
Say it loudly so everyone can hear.
so if you were to have a sheet of paper, for instance,
That's right. That's right. So in the Bhagavatam, you're absolutely right that Lord Krishna, we can see and experience Krishna in everything around us, in every little thing. Like you said, that there was life in the tree, but from every atom that it makes up this material world, Lord Krishna is present in that atom. Then Lord Krishna is present as Paramatma. And this is what this verse was about, that the Lord is present in everyone's heart. And so when we disrespect somebody, see, we have no control over how other people behave. I think when we understand that, the ego tells us I can control their behavior. I can say things in a certain way, I can do things in a certain way, and their behavior will change. But the reality is we can't change people's behavior, but we can maybe change it when we change ourselves. The more love we send them, that, here's the challenge. A humble sage would see an enemy and a friend the same. So we can transform other people's hearts when our own heart changes. Because when we finish that karma, somehow that person won't be, that person will change. Yes?
Where do you draw the line between being tolerant and being how you've just described versus standing up for what's right?
Yeah, great question. So if I understood your question, how can you be tolerant but draw the line when people have overstepped the boundaries? Yeah? So what's the balance, Okay, well, usually in Krishna consciousness, there's a kind of a methodology that you try not to get into conflict with someone. If it's a personal thing, then you try to just step away. If you know that relationship, you've got to manage it. So you know that these are the triggers. I'm not going to go down there and trigger this person. So we say if people are disrespectful, you keep a healthy distance from them. You're respectful, but you keep a healthy distance. Usually, we're told tolerate, so don't exacerbate it. Tolerate it. But if you see somebody else being mistreated, then you have to speak up. Does that make sense? Yeah? Yeah. Because otherwise you become a bystander in watching something that shouldn't happen. Okay? Because that's about righteousness. Righteousness, the self-righteousness, I'm self-righteous, how dare anybody talk to me like that? And I think we all feel like that because we're humans, when someone's disrespectful. But that's where we're required to exercise tolerance, patience, go introspection. Why is this happening to me? Please, Krishna, help me to tolerate it. If I did this to this person in my previous life, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you, I free you. But if we see somebody usually more vulnerable than us, and it's our position and place, then we should speak up. Because otherwise silence is violence. Yeah? Great question. Great question. Anybody else got a question?
Speaking up causes conflict, then you sometimes think I shouldn't speak up because that's going to cause more conflict.
Of course, because sometimes people look for conflict, don't they? If you speak up, it gives them an opportunity to.
And no one likes the truth or showing a mirror to them. They don't like it.
Yeah, so that's why we have to hold that mirror up to myself. That, when something happens, what is it in me that this person is behaving in such a way? I think a lot of it is about patience and tolerance, and when we know that a certain person's nature in such a way, like, you have to pray for them. That's one thing that you must do. And pray for yourself. That, please, Krishna, I'm powerless in this situation. Your power is greater than mine. I'm going to surrender to you, my Lord, because I can't fix this myself. I can't see any way of fixing it. You know, we don't want to get to a point where we feel so beside ourselves that we don't want to even live anymore. Because sometimes we can get to that point where it's so hard to tolerate, but we have to tolerate. We have to. And remember that Krishna is so supreme. He's a person. He will listen to our prayers. And that's why chanting, this young boy said, reading, chanting, seeing Krishna everywhere, praying to Krishna is part of actually beginning to understand who we are and what our relationship is with Krishna. So one of the things we ask for, one of the things, you know, when you say when you stand up, when we stand up to people, we have to remember that we're not misbehaving when we're standing up for someone. We have to also remember how we conduct ourselves, because if we conduct ourselves no matter what with integrity, you know, there's in the Vedic system there's something called the Panch Kanyas, the 5 ladies. You know, they're exalted ladies, and they anyway, you can research this and find out what was so extraordinary about these ladies and why were they so elevated. And you read about their lives, and they are tolerant and humble. And that's where, but they do their duty. Got to do your duty, no matter what, because Lord Krishna says when you do your duty and you do it as a service to Him, then what happens is the realizations come. If we're looking for quick fixes, ladies and gentlemen, they're not going to help us to synthesize and process life. Quick fixes don't do that because we don't learn the lessons often. But I think each, and you know, what we say is Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. When you're in a dilemma, read, you know, read what does it say in the Bhagavad Gita. Open up the Bhagavad Gita and something will be revealed to you. Speak to a devotee. Don't hold it on, you know, don't hold it to your heart for too long. And then find a guru. What is the guru saying? So when you get that triangulation, if they're all saying the same thing, you know that's, you know, that triangulation is quite robust. If they're not all saying the same thing, then you have to really think, okay, what is it that's going on here? And then ultimately, by working on ourselves, by working on our own purity, thinking about, is my existence sattvic? Is it rajasic? Is it tamasic? And that comes with how we are, you know, what we're eating, what we're thinking, how we're behaving, how we live. You know, if we're lazy, we're dirty, we think we'll attract negativity. We'll attract stagnant, stagnancy in our life. But if we somehow try to work on ourselves rather than working on somebody else, then that helps us and it helps them as well. Did you have anything else? Yes, Mother.
Just when you said that when you stand up for yourself, make sure that you are also behaving properly.
Yeah.
I remember the verse from Bhagavad Gita about austerity of speech.
Mm.
When you want to speak out, it says that austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others. So even if we want to say something, we have to say it in such a way that you know, it should be. Of course, we should speak the truth, but we should speak it in a pleasing way and beneficial and not agitating. So if we think that the person, you know, is not going to benefit, maybe it's better that we don't say it, or maybe the circumstances is not right, or maybe if we are not in the right mood, in the right situation,
Yeah.
we say it would be agitating the other person.
So thank you for that. What's the verse? 17. So those who are online, Bhagavad Gita 17:15, the verse is about austerity of speech, speaking those words that are pleasing, beneficial, truthful,
pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating.
truthful, pleasing, and not agitating to others. So here's the challenge, are we able to, in the most trying circumstances, speak in a truthful way that's beneficial and pleasing, not agitating somebody else? So silence is usually, when I was a child, my teachers used to say, silence is golden. And I didn't quite understand that. But I think I've said this before when I give class. I used to try and be silent on a Monday. Why? No, there's no reason except Monday was one of those days where I didn't have to speak a lot to people. So I'd practice silence. And my children would come up to me and say, "We love Monday. It's wonderful because we get a word in edgeways. It's so nice and peaceful at the house, Mum, when you're like really quiet." So, and then I forget sometimes, and I call them up, and they know that I've forgotten today. So the austerity of speech is something we have to try and practice, and it's really difficult. It's really difficult because what happens is, as soon as a thought comes, bah, 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 we fire like a machine gun, not thinking, as you said, right, stop. Is it beneficial? Is it truthful? Is it pleasing? Is it going to agitate them? And I think even when we try to muster up all the when you want to say something in the most respectful way, it's very hard. It's very hard because the art is, how do you say something to someone that is going to be pleasing to them? How are you going to do that? Any idea? But that's what the Bhagavad Gita is telling us.
Maybe connected to today's verse, if we remind ourselves that there's a soul and there's Paramatma in his heart.
Yes. Yes, thank you. So linking it back to today's verse, that we can see that the soul is in everyone's heart, and the Lord is residing. So we're not just communicating with that person, but we're also communicating with the Lord who's in their heart, and the Lord feels and wills and so yes, absolutely. So how we treat others is also how we're treating the Lord. So they say that when you can see the Lord in everyone's heart, like a humble sage, you don't take things too personally, but when you see the Lord is like sunshine. When the Lord is present, there's only goodness and joy and love and patience and tolerance. The problem is we trust our mind too much, because our mind fabricates stories. He did that, she did that, they looked like that, why did they do that? It goes on and on and on. So we've got to be able to really be able to manage the mind by thinking of Krishna, by reading the Bhagavad Gita, by chanting. Hands up, those of you who read the Bhagavad Gita regularly. It's amazing. Almost the whole room. That's great. Well, what can I say? I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. Please tell us when you read your Bhagavad Gita. When do you read? You read in the evenings, yeah? That's wonderful. As a family? You read together as a family. How do you read your Bhagavad Gita?
Usually on Saturdays after lunch, there's basically nothing to do and there's something. So then I just read it.
So you read Bhagavad Gita on Saturdays after lunch. That's wonderful. And some of you, sir?
Every morning before I go to work, I read two verses in Dutch because I live in Holland.
Okay, that's great. So you actually read the Dutch version.
Dutch version, yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. Um, what what does it do to you when you read 2 verses every morning?
It starts the beginning of my day. I get shanti in my mind, peace. For when I go to work, when there are trouble at work, I think that's work. The important thing is that I have to focus to Krishna, and Krishna will solve everything for me.
Yes.
Just give me a peaceful in my way of living. And that's the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, you find for every question in life, you find the answer in it. It is a way of living.
Thank you. So you said that by reading 2 verses a day, it's a way of living. It's something that helps you to put work in context, that it helps you to make your day go well, and you see everything in context. Is that right, sir?
Yeah, in context, yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Who else reads Bhagavad Gita? Because a lot of you had your hands up.
So I recently started
Yes.
because earlier in my life when I had read Bhagavad Gita, I did not understand
Yeah.
anything much.
Yeah.
So this time I'm taking it one shloka by one shloka and I let it assimilate and I take my own time in understanding it. So I'm in no rush to complete the book or get anywhere, but I just want to read it more mindfully. So I do it in
Yeah.
the morning prayer. I read one shloka and I understand the Bhagavad at the end of the day.
Right. So you're saying you read one verse and then you really break it down and dwell on it and think about it and really focus on it. That's wonderful.
Some days I just repeat it 2-3 days because I might not have fully understood it all.
Oh, that's
I forgot
wonderful.
only when final.
Yeah. So I think you said something really important, and that is that when you first started to read the Bhagavad Gita, it was difficult to understand. When I first saw the Bhagavad Gita, maybe 40 years ago, I used to only look at the pictures. I used to only look at the pictures because when I used to try and read it, I just couldn't understand. Who finds that sometimes? Yeah? Okay, so there's a secret to that. And the secret to that is that humility, that please, Lord Krishna, reveal to me what you want me to understand. And then the Bhagavad Gita will reveal to you everything that you need to know at that, wherever you're at. So it's the way we approach it. Please, my dear Lord, you're the Supreme Lord, you're the cause of all causes. You've existed before, during, and after. You are pure and uncontaminated. And everything without you is illusion. So help me understand. Because even Lord Shiva is telling Mother Parvati the glories of Bhagavad Gita. So we have to be able to approach it in that humble way, that please, my Lord, it's not me, I'm going to read and I'm going to get the knowledge. But the Bhagavad Gita is so secret because it reveals itself through our surrender, actually. Help me to understand what it is I need to know. Very soon, we will have Aarti at 7 o'clock. I'll take one more question before, or yes, sir.
So, you say when you're sort of troubled, just open up the Bhagavad Gita. Are you saying just open at any page or just carry on where you left off?
Well, you can read the Bhagavad Gita in a couple of ways. There's one that you're systematically studying right from the beginning. What's happening with Arjuna. He's in this dilemma. He's having challenges. And he's in a very difficult situation because this person is hell-bent on having a fight with him and wants to completely diminish him. So how does Arjuna deal with this? So you've got that, and then eventually Arjuna asks Lord Krishna questions, and then the Lord reveals the knowledge to him. So that's one way. Then the other way is, I'm perplexed. today. I'm having a hard time. You open the Bhagavad, you do that prayer, that humble prayer, my dear Lord Krishna, please reveal to me what it is I need to know, and just open the book. So that's another methodology. You want to apply, then this one, the gentleman is saying, 2 verses a day. This lady is saying systematically 1 verse. You want to try and integrate all those strategies. Yeah? Not because sometimes when we're reading 1 page a day, we might think, oh, I've forgotten what that chapter was about. So you want to keep it tight. You want to kind of understand what's the whole Bhagavad Gita about, what's that chapter about, what's the first 6 chapters about, what is it that 1 verse is telling me, and really go in deeply with quality. And then that one that you're saying, sir, when, who was it? Gandhi, he said, when doubts haunt me, then I open the Bhagavad Gita. So you'll find that when all of you, if you try this at home, just open the Bhagavad Gita. When you're having a challenge at work or at home or at school, just open that Bhagavad Gita and say, my dear Lord, what is it you want me to know? Great question.
Can I just quickly read what Prabhupada says in the first?
Sure, you can do that until the conch blows.
Bhagavad Gita, this is the first verse of Bhagavad Gita purport. Bhagavad Gita is the widely read mystic science summarized in Gita Mahatmya. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Krishna, and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretation.
Thank you. That's perfect. So one should scrutinizingly read the Bhagavad Gita with the help of a person. So by the way, we have Think Gita classes. We have Bhakti Shastri courses. Please go online, Bhaktivedanta Manor, School of Bhakti. And if you're interested, maybe you'd like to take up a course. There's no minimum age. And on that note, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki. Jaya Jaya Gaurachande Arati ko Shobha. Jaya Gaurachande Arati ka Shobha. Jaya Jaya Gaurachande Arati ka Shobha. Ratna Simhasana